So I graduated nursing school around 2008. And back then I thought I knew everything. I thought diet and exercise, if people would just eat right and exercise, that we would all be healthier. Like, I'm 22 and I'm having heart issues. Maybe I was 23. I was way too young.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
This isn't right.
It's really amazing to see how many people are looking for a friend or looking for that connection, and they just need somebody to come up and say hi.
There's been a loneliness epidemic, and we're seeing some of those effects of what happens when you live alone and you don't connect.
Our health is not political. It's not party related.
Finally take the first step, but at least it's a step. And I like to encourage people to just keep taking those steps, however big, however small.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
I'm Seth, and this is The Forever Young Show. The most powerful force in this world is a woman who knows who she is, why she is here, and what she wants to accomplish.
And that's where self-care comes in. As a woman, it is my opportunity and my responsibility to take care of me.
Self-care for your mind.
Self-care for your body.
Self-care for your money.
Our mission is to serve women as they fulfill their irreplaceable roles in families, society, business, the fabric of humanity.
So let's get this show on the road.
Britt Vanderhoof is a registered nurse and a clinical Ayurveda specialist, blending the wisdom of modern medicine with Ayurveda, a holistic medical system from India that has been practiced for over 5,000 years.
She is passionate about bringing natural, evidence-based solutions to women who are navigating perimenopause and menopause, helping them cultivate resilience, balance, and well-being through Ayurvedic principles, nutrition, and lifestyle changes.
Britt is the founder of the Midlife Chrysalis, an online community supporting women through the transitions of midlife with evidence-based holistic practices.
Britt also runs workshops and group programs, empowering women with tools for self-care, stress resilience, and personal transformation. In fact, are you right in the middle of a group cohort right now in Salt Lake City, Britt?
I am starting my next one on Monday, actually.
Okay.
I just finished one up in December. Getting ready to launch my next one.
Very nice. How long do those usually last?
12 weeks.
Wonderful.
And this, so the Midlife Chrysalis or Chrysalis, I think it can be said both ways, but you call it Chrysalis?
But, yes.
Okay. You know me with names. I'm not going to fiddle. Take us behind Midlife Chrysalis. Like there is meaning in just the name. Speaking about names.
Yeah.
As I approached midlife, my whole life got turned upside down. As I started to go through a divorce, I've moved several times in the last couple of years. My kids are getting older, and I'm finding they just prefer to be with friends instead of mom now. And just dealing with a lot of emotions and physical changes that we go through. The women just don't talk about enough. There's a lot of body changes I started to go through, and I thought it was because of the stress of going through a divorce. And yes, that was part of it, but I was also starting to go through perimenopause. And I just remember like going through puberty. Thank God we had some kind of classes about it in school because my parents didn't talk about it. Like, could you imagine as a girl if you started to have your period and no one had told you about it? You'd be like, what the hell's going on? And I think perimenopause is kind of like that. We need like a maturation clinic. We need something like that to explain this is what to expect. These are some changes that might happen. And that's what I have done. We talk about the physical changes. We talk about mental and emotional issues. And we have a lot of fun doing it. As I started my practice in Ayurveda, I started to see clients one-on-one, and most of them ended up being midlife women with mind and body issues. And I found myself repeating myself over and over each day. And I thought, why don't I just bring you all together? Let's all talk about this. And it's been fun because I have some older women in the group and some in like late 30s, early 40s, all the way up to 60s. And the older women can be like, well, let me tell you about this. And the younger women just know they ask questions, and it's incredibly empowering and supportive to be in a group talking about midlife stuff. And yeah, like I said, there's a lot of things that can go on with children growing up, relationship changes, job changes, just a lot that can go on. And we like to bring the women together and kind of hold them up in this little group setting. And we come out at the end of the program transformed.
Oh, I love it.
Thus the word chrysalis. Right?
Yes.
We're talking about transformation, rebirth, really. I mean, chrysalis, a cocoon, it's a transformational, it's also a birthing process in certain senses, right? A birth into a new life. Was that what you were aiming at?
Yes.
Well, and I feel like, going through perimenopause is that exactly too, and it's wonderful. Women need community. They need other women that they can help each other and strengthen each other and rely on each other. Recently, I heard somebody talking about how if women don't have good friends, it's as bad as them smoking 1 pack of cigarettes per day. That's how bad it is for their health. That's how much women need community. We need each other. So yeah. I think what you're doing is absolutely beautiful and needed. Very, very needed.
Yeah, and I'll add on. So I graduated nursing school around 2008. And back then I thought I knew everything. I thought diet and exercise, if people will just eat right and exercise, that we would all be healthier. And then a couple of years later, I came across the Blue Zone studies about community, how even though some groups of people will smoke cigars and drink wine, which I don't recommend, it's hard, but there's been studies showing how healthy these people are just because they're in this tight-knit, loving, supportive community. And yes, we know after the pandemic that there's been a loneliness epidemic. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing some of those effects of what happens when you live alone and you don't connect.
Sadly, I feel like it's even it's changed people. Like I've seen people who did branch out and have community or people to go to, and they've become more oh my goodness, what is the word? More introverted, more to themselves, and not as happy. Like I remember going through the pandemic and smiling at people, and just the different responses that I would get. A lot of people would just like turn their heads, or on the other end of the spectrum, I would get people that would thank me for smiling because so many people were not smiling. So many people were not connecting. They were scared to. And sadly, I think some of that has bled over with some people, and they still, have that wall up maybe with other people.
Yeah. So that's why I think it's so important for women to connect and come together and talk and have a good time.
Yes.
Talk about things that actually matter too.
Yes. Have those deeper conversations. Yep.
And I will say from some of my clubs, there are several women who have become friends now. I hook people up in accountability, like mini accountability pods and then accountability partners. So they have someone to connect with each day. And if they live close to each other, I encourage them, just go on a walk, go find a park, just do something, or reach out to a neighbor or someone in your community or church, whatever community you may be a part of already. Mm-hmm. Ask someone if they want to go on a walk. Like if you go to a meeting at work or a meeting at the church, see if you can meet up 10, 15 minutes early to go on a walk, or stay a little bit later and just walk around the block. Just anything you can do to start moving in the direction of health and wellness with someone else who can do it with you.
Yeah, I know there are some women that are fine doing it on their own and love it. I am definitely not one of them. Like if I have somebody to go walk with, or my big thing is yoga or dancing, I will 100% like jump in and do it. Whereas if I'm on my own, it's like, that's not as fun. That doesn't sound as good. That community and that connection and the fun is what really, really helps me to go.
Well, it's the meeting. You've got the meeting, right? Whatever that meeting is, right? Maybe it's yoga, or maybe it's a business meeting. Maybe it's a church meeting. Maybe it's a cohort, right? Right. And maybe it's a therapy session, whatever those might be. Maybe it's the hike, but there's also the meeting before the meeting after the meeting. And so often, not to discount the value of the meeting, the meet, right? The activity itself, but so much of the connection, so much of the change, so much of the community happens before the meeting, right? Try this. Well, we should try this because try this. Show up early to a meeting next time. For some of you, that's going to be a miracle, right? I'm speaking to us.
I can tell you that miracles happen.
Yeah. Yes. Show up 10 minutes early to a meeting and just see what happens. See what, and stay off your phone, right? No screen time, but see who's there. Start a conversation. Stay 10 minutes after a meeting, which will probably bleed to 20 or 30 minutes, right? But stay after me, because sometimes what really needs to happen is the meeting after the meeting, right? That meeting before, that meeting after. It's community, right? So,
and I would say, I'm a very extroverted person, but I have to consciously go out of my way to talk to others sometimes, and that can be really uncomfortable. I think maybe it's the unknown, but sometimes that's also what it takes. And it's really amazing to see how many people are looking for a friend or looking for that connection. And they just need somebody to come up and say hi or ask them, their name or a question about them. And how much can build from that is incredible.
Yes, I agree. So we do need to be the ones to initiate and be brave enough to go up and take that step and open our mouths and share. And I will quickly share one of my favorite opening lines besides "how are you" is "what have you been doing to take care of yourself?"
Oh.
And maybe I'll ask you that, Stephanie. What do you do for self-care? What have you been doing to take care of yourself?
You know what? I actually started a ballet class for adults. And it's been a lifelong dream of mine. I'm 41. And at first I was like, I don't know, do I do this? Am I going to go in this class? And there's going to be all these other people that are like so good. And I've never really done ballet before. And it's been a really good experience. And it's really helped to push me outside my comfort zone in a lot of ways. In fact, I made a really silly comment in like the first class. The teacher was, saying the different positions and stuff, the names. And I turned to one of the other girls and I was like, man, to me, like, because she had done ballet before, at least half the class or more had. And so I was like, man, it's like she's speaking another language or something. And she was like, well, she is. It's French. And I'm like, oh, yeah. I thought that was hilarious. But it's really pushed me outside to, have to remember steps or positions or, to go and be by others, even though some of them know each other or I've really tried hard to, connect with a few of the others and just do my best. I don't think I'm going to sign up again. I think I'm going to pursue yoga more because that's really my passion. But I'm super proud of myself for taking this big step and just putting myself out there. And I will say most of the classes I've been early, which like Seth said is a miracle. And like just knowing that I was like the second person there made me so happy. I'm like, I can tell I'm healing and taking care of myself because I'm making those changes.
Beautiful. That's another thing about midlife is for a lot of women, it does open up more time because our kids are a little bit older. Life may slow down. And hopefully you finally have time to try out some things that you've been wanting to do since before kids. Yeah. Or maybe since you've had them and there's so many things that you're curious about.
Yes, I will say I've had a really hard time expanding my vision and dreaming and knowing, that I can do these extra things or these new things. And Seth has been really good at helping me, like encouraging me and supporting me. And we do have 2 little kids. And so, not having mom guilt, working through that and actually being an example for them, I think has helped me a lot to be able to do that.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing all that.
Yes. What about you, Seth? What are you doing for self-care?
What am I doing for self-care? Well, number one, I married you. Okay. I married you. Listen, like you are the best self-care protocol. Don't take that the wrong way, that I've ever had in my life. Right. So outside of my faith, but then again, you help me, make that count too. So you're not a pill. You're better than a pill, babe. So, Steph's great. You are your sounding board, like my communicator even when I don't want to communicate, like when the window's closed. But beyond that, like big major thing, because relationships are important.
Absolutely.
Hugely important. I've been doing a lot for my mental and physical well-being. So without going through the entire bullet list,
pick one.
Brain cramp. I'll pick one from each or two. So I'm doing some interfamily systems work for my emotional health right now. We have a great therapist, a great counselor, Roxanne Granada, who was actually on the show just recently, and I've really enjoyed what some people call parts work, right? That has been so interesting, so liberating. It's like the movie. What's the name of the movie?
Inside Out.
Yes. Oh. It's like I was like, wait, you're supposed to help me with that. The movie.
I love how Britt knew, and I was like, I have no idea.
We watch a lot of movies, so I can understand that. Yeah, it's like being in my own Inside Out movie and talking to me at 6 years old and talking to me at 15 years old and really having some discoveries and some permission to forgive myself, and permission to accept myself, which has been super powerful. Self-care. I'm very grateful for the sessions I've done, and I've got sessions pre-booked out. Okay. So interfamily systems, parts work. Also, just at a major point in my life, I turned 50 several months ago, and we're in the healthcare business anyway. That's what we do professionally. It's what I've been doing for 30 years. But I will tell you, I'm more grateful for the good health decisions that I've been making the last 20 years than I ever have been. Like I was totally ignorant about these many decisions, good things. And yeah, there's a lot of crappy things that I've done too, and whatnot. But without...
You mean you're human?
Yes, I'm human. Without focusing on those, I'm really just diving into this journey we call health. As health as richness, health as a wealth, from movement, to, I was telling you the other day, basically I'm really focused on movement right now. So, making sure that I'm moving 7,000 steps a day. I know there's that 10,000 number out there. We're going to have a podcast on this about the 7,000 number. Okay. 10,000 isn't necessarily the number, but movement every day, whether that's walking, brisk walking, back and forth between the barn and the horses or up this mountain that we've got here. Play a lot of basketball. Yoga has become a great part of my life.
You're welcome.
Yoga multiple times a week, strength training multiple times a week. So, and I feel great about it. I feel it's something I'm truly falling in love with, in a way that I never have before.
I love that you're doing all of that. And thank you for sharing. I think more people need to be having these conversations about what they're doing for health and wellness. Mm-hmm. And strength training is so important for anyone, especially women. We lose so much bone mass as we age. We can, but doing resistance training, weight training at least once or twice a week is going to help us maintain that and age more healthily and gracefully.
Mm-hmm.
I love what you said about bone mass, Britt, because we often think about weight training is for muscles, right? And some women think, listen, I don't want to be ripped.
I don't want to bulk up, I think is the biggest thing that I hear from women. I don't want to bulk up. I don't want to be bulky.
And no question, there are so many amazing women out there who are leading the way into in fact, we've got Delise Radke coming on, Fit Mom of 7, right? Who is a trainer and teaches that, is teaching women, leading them. There are a lot of women who are like, you kidding me? I do want to get ripped, and I think that's awesome. And toned and build muscle. But what we have to realize, thank you, Britt, for weighing in. We're talking about Eastern philosophy. We're interweaving holistic practices, and Eastern philosophies are often more holistic than Western practices, right? In Western medicine, as a registered nurse, and I think, Steph, we're going to get into this in the next question, a little more detail about your history. It's about hyper specialization and independent systems. Show me an independent system in your body. They all have a role, but they're all interdependent, right? And so the role, especially for women, muscle mass, yes. And I'm not talking about massive amounts of muscle. We're talking about muscle mass, strength, the ability to do things, the ability to balance, the ability to be flexible. But that is inseparable, as you said, Britt, from bone health. And every woman knows, oh, okay, as I age, I've got that bone health issue. You want bone health? But do resistance training, do some weight training, right? Because muscles and bones are connected.
Well, and a big thing that I didn't know, but I've had to learn is how important muscle is to the pelvic floor and how it supports all your organs and everything. Like, it's just mind blowing what I didn't know until I went through pelvic organ prolapse and had to learn all that the hard way. I am grateful though, I can help educate others, especially our daughters. But yeah, muscle mass is really important for so many things.
Yes.
But let's dive in, Britt, a little more to your to some of that transitioning from solely I know everything as a registered nurse. You want to dial that up, Steph?
Sure. So, Britt, what are you passionate about right now, and what are you doing about it?
I am passionate about women's health and helping them transition through a perimenopause into menopause and aging more gracefully. And a big part of that is just because that's where I'm at. I'm actually like a couple steps into it, so I know how to help people as they're coming into it. And I've spent a couple of years studying women's health now from not just a Western perspective, but also an Eastern perspective. And this is just stuff that women don't talk about, and we need to talk about it. And as I've studied it, there's also a lot of woo out there, which sometimes I am drawn to it, but as a nurse, I like the science, and I like to find all the science as much as possible to back up what I'm sharing with other women. And it's interesting, I didn't learn this until about a year ago, that a lot of clinical studies have only been done on white men, because when women get involved in clinical studies, they have to take into account hormones and where they are in their cycle, and there's just a lot more things to take into account.
Yes.
And I thought, this is too much. Let's just focus on men. So it hasn't been until recently that more women have been involved in studies. But I do seek those out as much as I can. So yeah, I love what I'm doing. It's not just benefiting me, but I'm able to help other women as well. And I found in this, yes, I can read all these books. I know all this wisdom, but I also like the accountability. Having my groups holds me accountable to practicing what I'm preaching. And at the same time, it's holding them accountable, which is it's beautiful. And I love it.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a win-win, right?
Yeah.
We're all helping each other. I love that, you're just learning all this and pouring into other women. And you're benefiting from it also. I feel like, all good things come in that circle. How we learn, but we also, we learn and grow, but we also share with others, and then they get to learn and grow and turn around and help others as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So can you share with us, Britt, your personal journey toward better health and well-being? What are some turning points that you've experienced?
I would say one of my first memorable experiences was when I was in nursing school. It was around 2006, and I found myself incredibly overworked. I had 2 clinicals each week, like Wednesday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Have to go home and type up a 15-page care plan. Go back to school or go back to the hospital the next day, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. shift. Go home and type up another 15-page care plan. And then I had school all day on Friday. There was not enough coffee in the world that could keep me up to keep doing this. And I don't know how anyone else did it. So I ended up going to see my doctor and told him, what can I do to stay awake? And he prescribed me a medication that was originally created for, I think it was for fighter pilots to stay awake for long hours.
Wow.
And it worked. It kept me up for 3 days straight. I was able to show up to the hospital, complete all my reports, show up to school, and then I would crash. And this went on for a couple of weeks. I ended up getting depression and anxiety. And then I started having heart palpitations. So they put me on a heart medication.
Oh my goodness.
And it was the heart medication that really made me think, like, this isn't right. Like, I'm 22 and I'm having heart issues. Maybe I was 23. I was way too young.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
And I went crying to one of my nursing teachers, and she recommended I go see a counselor at the counseling center at the school. So I did. And that lady recommended that I start meditating. And then she told me that school offered 10 free massages each semester. They were just 15-minute massages. And I still remember sitting in the office, like rolling my eyes, like, I've heard of meditation. What, you think I'm just going to sit for like a few minutes and be healed? And then I was like, didn't feel comfortable having a stranger touching my body and massaging me. But she kept encouraging me to do it. So I went to the local library and got some CDs on meditation. I think this was before iTunes and all these other cool music apps we have. And I started listening to some guided meditations, like just progressive relaxation. And I just remember laying down, and I think that was the first, I still remember when I started doing it. I was like, I feel something different. What is this? And I was like, oh, is this what relaxed feels like? I was just constantly on the move. And then I started getting massages, and I felt amazing. And looking back at it now, I know I was calming my nervous system down, which I desperately needed. And after a lot of meditation and the massages, I started to wean off the antidepressants and the anxiety meds. And eventually that clinical rotation stopped, where I wasn't doing them 2 days in a row and then going to school. So that was huge for me, learning that meditation and massages could really help. And then it was shortly after that I got involved in yoga. And that is a funny story. I started off doing hot yoga at Bikram Yoga. And I still remember, like, I filled out the intake form with my name and date of birth, whatever. Then it said, what is your intention of joining this yoga class? And I thought I was so funny. I was like, I want a hot body. Literally hot, because it was hot yoga. And I thought, it'll keep my body looking good. But adding yoga to my routine too just added another level of calming my nervous system down. And we didn't learn any of that in nursing school. I was trained in pharmaceuticals and medicine and how to support people on all of that.
That's so powerful.
Yeah.
I'm thinking meditation versus medication, right? And again, we have the best critical care in the world in the United States, but we have not the best longevity healthcare system. Like we're the number one in expenditures as a country, as a people, right, for healthcare. And we're number 42 in longevity. And so it just reminds me, Britt, you're talking about, I need something in life. Well, here's a medication for it. You'll stay up 3 days and You'll hyper focus and you'll get that one thing. You're going to be awake at like a fighter pilot, right? But what are all of in this holistic environment of the body, what else does that mean? Well, when you're awake for 72 hours and crushing it, that's great. But there's an ecosystem, right? It's the circle of life, right? And maybe you can, I don't know if you want to say something about this, Britt, but I heard something recently that the number 3, like the top causes of death, top causes of mortality. Number 3, prescription medications.
I haven't heard that. I've heard medical errors, which tend to be medication errors. Or did I say that right? I think I did.
I think so. Sounded right to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that, I haven't looked into this, but I know a lot of nurses and doctors are overworked. They're working 12, 16, 24-hour shifts. Mm-hmm. And I know at the end of a 12-hour shift, my brain is
fried.
It's fried. And thank goodness I was able to get myself home safely and just eat and go to sleep. And that's about all I could do.
Yeah. It makes me concerned about, what that does to all the patients that are there. Like I've thought about that for years, watching shows or whatever, where there were medical doctors who were like, oh yeah, I've been here for 2 days or however long. And it's like, how can you think and function, especially on the level that you need to when you're in a hospital? Like that's when you need it, your brain to function really well. And here we are, running them ragged and hoping that they can save lives.
Yeah. And the nursing school at the time didn't take sleep into account. They didn't take digestion and nutrition into account. I think I took a 10-hour nutrition class in nursing school. And even that booklet was funded by Big Ag and Big Dairy. And yes, they had some good information, but I think they also had their own agenda in teaching it. And it just wasn't enough. In Ayurveda, the root cause of disease is actually found in the gut and then in the mind, which I learned nothing about in nursing school. And I don't think doctors learn about that either.
Well, I think all of this, I think there's a massive movement. And of course, there have been people, grassroots, like our grandmas, who've been teaching health practices, common sense health practice, sometimes many of them wise beyond the available science at the time. That, we're while on the one hand, we are a runaway freight train and there is no bridge. Like the bridge isn't there. Like it is a precipice and that will fall. And that runaway freight train is many of our current practices and habits here in the West, which we are aggressively and very effectively sharing back to the East. Right? We're sending this American agenda from a health perspective, an unhealth perspective, right? All around the world. We've got that going on, no question. And it's, our diet, it's nutrition, it's big ag, it's big pharma, it's not healthcare, but disease management. And we have to think of healthcare differently. Like, again, that's like, it comes to me, disease management. And that's a very apropos way of naming that industry. They do manage diseases, but is it health care? And there's this movement that's taking place, right? Britt, you're part of that movement. We're part of that movement of health care, and not to be political, and because our health is not political, it's not party related, but I can get on with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., in this whole concept of what can we do to make America healthy again? And there's no one thing. There's no one thing. It is multifaceted, and so many people need what you're doing for women in Salt Lake City and beyond, right? when it comes to menopause and perimenopause, and just the many people to make how about make the world healthy again.
Yes. Well, and I think it even goes before perimenopause. Like if we can teach the younger generations what to do to support themselves before they reach that, part of their life, then they're going to be so much better for it. They don't have to dread going through perimenopause or menopause. They can actually just see it as a transition in their life instead of something that's like, oh, lock me away if I act this way, or you know what I mean? Like
put her in the cave.
Yeah, they can take care of themselves so that their experience can be a lot better, an easier transition than what we've seen so many women go through.
Yeah, I agree. I wish we could start teaching more of this stuff in schools. And I am working with a nurse who wants to do some of that and start to get it. And I know those changes take time.
Yeah.
And I have kids and I can share it with my kids. And I find the women in my group also have kids and they go home and share what they've learned in my group with their kids. Mm-hmm. It's like a trickle down effect. Yes. I've also met with a practitioner who is integrating some like Ayurvedic principles in school. Simple things like chew your food well, sit down when you're eating, make sure you eat breakfast and lunch around the same time each day. Just some simple things that they can start teaching kids. And then that trickles up because those kids go home and be like, Mom, you need to sit down. Stop snacking in the kitchen. Sit down and eat.
Kids are good at that, right? Pointing out what you should be doing. At least mine are.
We're such a go-go. So go ahead, Britt.
One healthy eating guideline that I like to share is the burp. So your stomach, once you start eating, it starts to expand. And when it's about 75% full, it squeezes a little bit of air out. So it has enough time to it's like, okay, now that I've released that air, there's just enough room for me to expand and contract and, mush all the food up and mix all the digestive enzymes. And when you burp, that is your body's way of saying, stop eating. If you eat any more, I'm not going to be able to expand and contract efficiently. And I'm not going to be able to mix all these digestive juices in that will help you digest efficiently. And so we listen to the burp now at my dinner table. And if my child burps, and I'm not saying the fake burps because my kids can burp on demand.
Oh, yes.
High-pitched burp. But this full burp is like a deep, guttural Homer Simpson burp. You can hear the difference if you start paying attention. But teaching stuff like that to my kids, because sometimes I don't notice that, and they're like, Mom, stop eating. You just burped.
I've never heard that or noticed. I mean, I noticed when you guys burp, but
there's a lot of burping going on in our home, which I think I'm fearing is going to be leading to less eating.
Have you guys not heard that? It's an Asian tradition that they burp and it's a sign of respect if you burp.
Definitely heard that, but didn't know that it was communication from the body.
Yeah, your body can speak.
Wow.
Oh, it definitely speaks. Part of it is, are you listening? And are you going to do what it's telling you,
It's a practice.
Yes, does take practice. One thing that my doctor that I'm working with right now, she had mentioned that a lot of times our schedules are so go, go, go that when we sit down, our nervous system is still go, go, go when we eat. And so she was saying to take, 5 deep breaths, just sit there and take those 5 deep breaths, and that will help calm your nervous system. And then it will help you, with your eating and digestion. And I started doing that, and it's been really neat to see just the difference in when I'm eating and how aware I am when I do that too.
Yeah, I love that your healthcare provider is sharing information like that. There's a lot of science behind that, the taking the slow, deep breaths to get into the parasympathetic, which is, I call the rest, digest, and repair system. Because if we do sit down and we're still stressed and we're activated, you're still in the fight, flight, freeze, and people please mode. All that blood flow, not all of it, but a lot of the blood flow leaves the gut, goes to the muscles in the brain, figuring out how to survive and keep going, versus when you can sit down, muscles relax, focus on your breath, more blood flow does go to the gut, and you do digest more efficiently. Mm-hmm. And I wish more people could know that. So I'm glad you're sharing that wisdom.
Oh, she shares a lot of wisdom. It's incredible. She's a hormone specialist, and just I'm learning so much through her. And she is, looks at you as a whole. Your emotions. You talk about trauma or all kinds of stuff. It's pretty amazing how it's all comes together and affects each other. Like we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Don't eat and run. No eating and running. Okay. Sit down, take 5 breaths. It comes down again, holistic practices. We want one thing, right? We want it simple. No, it's a whole bunch of things that you need to be doing. It is lifestyle that is going to affect your longevity and the quality of life, right? Your health span as well as your lifespan. But I'm thinking about blue zones. What are these people doing? Blue zones. Freaking lazy. All these people taking. I don't
know that I would call them lazy.
I just said that for dramatic effect, but really, it's not it's a working lunch. I got my sack lunch here. I'm going to pump out more work, mm-hmm. Right? And don't get me wrong. There's something to be said for production, right? But sitting around over some pasta, right? Or sourdough bread or whatever that's not filled with glyphosate, right? Sprayed with glyphosate and hybridized and GMO, GMO, and just talking and laughing and sipping whatever they're drinking, right? And taking an hour or an hour and a half to do that. Man, for many of us in the West, we're getting anxiety thinking about all the things that we're missing just having this conversation.
Not me. I'm like, that sounds so good right now.
I think what we're going to do in the gym, as we're finishing out the gym in the garage, and I've been having this idea about putting all these wonderful sayings on it. Right? I think one of them is going to be slow down. Another one's going to be, this is a blue zone, right? We're our homestead. Even though there's a tremendous amount of production and work that needs to be done, we're going to be a blue zone. We're going to create a blue zone right here at 5,000 feet in central, in Utah.
Well, if you think about it, I know that people are so focused on production, like you said, oh, I can get more work done while I eat. If you take care of yourself and you take that time to slow down, think of how much more productive you're going to be outside of that. So really it's costing you, whether immediately or in the long run. So if you slow down and take that time to take care of your well-being while you're eating, you're going to do much better. And you're going to feel good while you're doing it. Sorry.
Yeah. That reminds me of a yogi quote where they say, if you're busy, meditate 20 minutes a day. If you're super busy, meditate 1 hour a day.
Yes.
And until you try that and do that, it's really hard to grasp your mind. It has to be experienced.
Yes.
If you know, you know. And until you take that step and why would I want to do yoga? Why would I want to slow down? Why would I want to get in tights, right?
He's speaking from experience, the last 9 years?
Until you do it, you got to take that step into the darkness, right?
All right. So, Britt, what strategies have you found effective for managing stress and practicing self-compassion?
There's so much we can do to manage stress. I've already mentioned quite a few of them. Meditation was my gateway into managing stress, and then massage, spending time with loved ones. I try and get outside every day and walk my dog in the morning light. Journaling, practicing self-compassion, speaking kindly to myself, seeing a counselor that I have a good therapeutic relationship with. spending time with loved ones. Like I do have to take the initiative and reach out to friends and invite them out to lunch or coffee or a walk or a hike or yoga. But if we can't always sit around waiting for people to invite us out to do things.
Mm-hmm.
And then my healing groups. Like I love what I do. I love connecting with women and talking about health and watching them progress and watching little light bulbs go off. And like that nourishes me too. Getting a good night's sleep for sure. Going to bed at the same time, waking up at the same time, that calms my nervous system down. Eating at consistent times, at least a consistent breakfast and lunch around the same time. Dinner can get tricky just with kids' activities and all the other stuff that goes on in the evenings.
Yeah.
So you think about all this, great prescriptive list of what we need to do.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not there, you're listening right now. Because I know women listen to the show and they're like, I need to do this, right? Yeah, you do need to do this, but you don't need to do all this right now. It's not possible. Like don't worry about, okay, I'm not going to eat and run anymore. I'm going to get up and go to bed at the same time. I'm going to get 8 to 10 hours of sleep. I'm going to get so pick one thing, right? Pick one thing, do it for a couple of weeks. Actually, pick one thing and do it for a couple of days. Let's just start there. And then keep doing it for a couple of more days. And then a couple more. And then once that becomes part of your routine, because all that really matters is when it comes to health, it's not acute treatment. When we're talking about long-term health, we're not talking about disease care, right? We're not talking about critical care, but we're talking about the next 10, the next 50, the next 100 years of your life. Listen, humans have the ability to live to 120, 150 right now. Sounds crazy, but they do. And that's without the advances that are going to take place. What can you do? What can you do that Britt said and make it a habit right now, right? Take one step into the dark and then come back in a couple of weeks, couple of months and say, okay, what's the next one thing, right? One step at a time.
That's one thing that I love about this doctor that I'm seeing and how she will give a list, but she's like, okay, so pick some stuff that you're going to do. You know, you can't do all of them. There's so many things that you can do to help your body detox and all this stuff, but pick, 1 or 2 or 3, whatever your capacity is going to be and focus on that. And then I love when we meet with her because sometimes, just because of past experience with teachers or doctors or different, I don't even know what word I'm trying to find, but
authority figures.
Yes, with other authority
Healthcare
figures.
provider.
Thanks, honey. I'm like, oh shoot, I didn't do like everything or whatever, and then meeting with her and sharing the things that I have done, and her celebrating every little win has helped me to be like, yes, okay, I can do this. I can keep going, and then adding other little things in, or just having her not focus on the things that I didn't do, but celebrating the things that I did do. And it's actually given me permission to do that for myself and recognizing, okay, today I didn't do the 5 things, but I did do the two of the things, and I can celebrate those 2 things and I can build on them tomorrow. I think has been so tremendous for me and in my health journey.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. And I love how she's breaking it down 1 habit at a time, maybe 2. And you have the accountability.
Yes.
Because if she told you to do that and you never saw her again, how likely would you be to keep following through with all that?
Yeah, not very likely.
So with my clients and members, I like to tell them the same thing. Like, out of one topic that we discussed today, what's one new habit you think you could try? What sounds doable for you? And I give my clients dry erase markers so they can write it on their bathroom mirror, write it on their closet mirror. I give them a stack of sticky notes. They can write it down, put it on their fridge in their car, just to remind them, this is what we're doing this week. Mm-hmm. We're trying it out. And then I check back in, how did it go? Tell me about it. And I find there's a couple different types of people. There's people who will see that and think, well, I can do this. I want to do this and this and this, and I'm going to keep adding to it and try all these things. And then they burn themselves out. And then there's the people who see it and they're like, maybe I'll start tomorrow. Maybe I'll start the next day, but at least it's in their field. And maybe after a week, they finally take the first step, but at least it's a step. Mm-hmm. And I tell people, you know what? That's a win. You're moving in that direction. Like you're either stepping in the direction of help or dis-ease. And I like to encourage people to just keep taking those steps, however big, however small, and then invite a friend with you to go on that path.
Yes.
Or a spouse, kids.
Yes. Like, hey, you should try yoga.
And now we
for 9 years.
And now we do yoga together sometimes, right?
It's true. It's true. He's the one that's inviting me to do yoga on days that are hard for me to do it. And I'm like, oh, I'm so glad you asked me because it felt so good. You know, even if it's just 10 minutes, it's not just 10 minutes, it's 10 minutes. And it feels so good to do it.
Yeah. And for those listening who do have a membership to a gym, a lot of time if you ask them, they'll give you a free pass for a friend. Or maybe they have a free week where it's like new members can try the place out, either free or very low cost. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty easy just to call up a friend and be like, hey, I'm going to yoga this Saturday. Do you want to go?
Yes. In fact, I just did that with one of our previous guests on here, Stacy. And she actually had a brain tumor removed. And so she has left side weakness. And I was a little bit nervous asking her, but I'm like, what the heck? Like she can say no. You know, I know she just went and experienced a yoga retreat for the first time. And so I asked her and she's like, yes, I'm so excited. Thank you so much for asking me to go to a yoga class on Monday. So it is great.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm so glad you did that. And I'll bet she is too.
I am too, because I've tried going to this particular class lots of times. And I know now that I have a friend that's committed to going that I'm going to actually make it. So it'll benefit both of us.
Steph, outside of Stephanie, do you invite any male friends out to do yoga?
Do I?
Oh, no, Steph. Steph invite like his buddies.
Yeah, I text him. I'm like, hey, dude, you want to put your tights on and should we go? Should we go head up into the mountains and do some mountain yoga at a, you know, that's such a funny question, Britt.
It's a great question.
No, yeah, funny meaning, wow. No, like I never call any of my male friends and say, do you want to go do some yoga? Like this is new. I have never even considered that. Like I do yoga. We do yoga together. We did yoga on our honeymoon, right? I mean, she asked if I would do it. I'm like, it's our honeymoon. Of course I have to. Like, I don't find myself to be a
He didn't say it like that. He actually was very like, sure, if that's what you want to do, let's go do it. And he was a very good sport about it.
I was a great sport. That was just what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Right. Is I'm not, I don't, in the past, I wouldn't define myself or describe myself as being a person of flexibility. When it comes to my muscles and my body, right? I will tell you one of the biggest reasons that I'm so involved in movement, and that's the integration of all the different movements I'm doing, from impact with basketball and football and sports and hiking and equestrian and yoga and weightlifting, is because I want to balance. I want to be able to do things. It's not about bulking up and just, you know, becoming, you know, like meaty or something, or being super, it's all of those, Britt. Like I want to be flexible. Like the next 10 years of my life are all about promoting the whole body spirit, mind, body, spirit, flexibility in my body and in my thinking, right? Balance, spiritually, emotionally, physically, strength, flexibility, balance, strength. So I don't know. That'd be interesting. It'd be super fun just to reach out to some guy friends and, you know, get some of the punch passes to the local yoga studio, or like invite them over to the house and say, hey, I was wondering if you wanted to come over to do like a sound bath and some yoga and try it with 10 dude friends.
Hey, we did it with our Thai team.
We have had friends in from Asia, from Thailand, you know, and we actually hosted a sound bath,
and then we did some yoga stretching,
and then we did yoga, and we had one dude who came, But interesting question. I love that you asked me that. I've never really even thought about that.
I'm excited to see what's going to happen now.
You've heard of men in tights. I'm going to say you.
Well, I actually, like, I had one friend who was a hotshot firefighter, and I was shocked to hear, because he was pretty ripped, and he was like, yeah, my captain on the firefighting squad, or whatever you call them,
the crew.
Yes, thank you. He encourages them to go do hot yoga all the time. And so that's just a part of their practice now, to help keep them flexible and strong for their career, right? Helping people and having to do a lot. And then also the yoga class that I've gone to several times, I've seen another guy in there, that nurse.
Oh yeah.
Remember? And anyways, I think it's always great to see men in there, expanding, and I don't even know where I'm going with this.
All I could think of was, we said, I think it's great to see men in there. And all I could do was fill in the blank was like tights.
No, they don't wear tights.
I know. Actually, I do wear tights, but I wear shorts.
You wear tights. You were saying that I'm in the class. And
I know that's not what you were thinking, but when you say men in, I'm going to fill it in with tights. The way
No. I just think it's great, because yoga isn't just about flexibility. It's also about grounding yourself and going inward and checking in with yourself and seeing what you need. And that can be really hard to do for men and women. So I love to see when other men come and try that out, and to know what that's going to do and how that's going to ripple out for people around them. I think it's great.
Yeah. I do want to share a story. As I was thinking about Seth reaching out to his friends, I love April Fools. And when I was married to my husband, I hacked into his phone the night before, and I sent a message to like 10 of his buddies, like, hey, you want to go do yoga this week and then go get some organic green smoothies at Protein Foundry after? And he got some good responses. They're like, yeah, dude, let's do it.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then
thank you.
WTF. Because that was not his that was not what my husband was into. But I just thought it was funny.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wheels are rolling. Wheels are rolling on this.
Make it funny. They'll smile. Let's go get your yoga, get some green smoothies, and go get some tea and talk about our emotions.
We laugh about it, but do you know what?
Love that.
What a different world it would be if men actually tried those things. It really would be so different. In a good way.
Yeah, no, I'm having fun just thinking about how I'm gonna stage this coming up.
Goodness.
Okay, I want to hear how it goes.
Absolutely.
Definitely need an update.
Well, Britt, you're based in Salt Lake City, and so these the midlife chrysalis, and your coaching, your cohorts take place live in Salt Lake City for women who are local. We're going to make sure that we have all of your contact information in the show notes so that women can find you.
Yes.
And what I'd like to do is we need to find a time, pardon me, where we can hop back on here, because we didn't get to talk about today, but I don't want to rush through it, but that experience with the Nepalese doctor that you had, that's like a story that every woman needs to hear. And so we always produce some VIP content that we don't release in the main show, but we release for our VIP community. And we send them an email. So can we get back together in the next week to 10 days? Short period of time, doesn't have to be long. We'll hop back on the studio and want to ask about that so that we can provide that to our VIP community. Is that okay?
Yes.
Awesome. So make sure you're part of VIP if you're listening to this show right now, because when you shared this with me in the pre-show, I was just like, wow, we have to have this. We have to have this woman on the show. I feel like we only scratched the surface of of just the depth that you have of your knowledge and your experience. Britt, I will say that I have been hearing, I've never heard about perimenopause. I've never heard the word mentioned so many times in my life as I have in the last 6 months. Like in the last 6 months, I've heard it more times than cumulatively through the rest of my life. So,
and that's not even me. Hasn't been me bringing it up.
So thank you for being a warrior, for being a shaman, for being a guide on this part of the journey for so many women. And thank you for spending a few minutes with us today on the show. I feel like we could talk for another 2 or 3 hours, honestly.
It's true.
I want to hang out at your Blue Zone gym sometime.
Yeah.
Come out. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. And cut. It's a wrap.
Thank you so much for being here today. And thank you for sharing this episode with that one friend who needs this conversation. Thank you for all the ratings, the reviews, the comments, and especially the support. We so appreciate you.
Now, if you want to take a peek behind the curtain and be the first to know about special previews, backstage updates here at the show, and especially some private collection content that doesn't come out in the regular show,
be sure to join our VIP community at theforeveryoungshow.com.